Hey, low riders. How's everybody doing? Happy Tuesday evening. It is now 500 or 5:18 in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know where I got the 500 from, but yeah, it's 5:18 p.m. But I'm coming to you today because I did watch the interview with Carlos King, Heavenly Kimes, and Ken. I still don't know his last name. Kenneth Lee. Yeah, that's his last name. I have to say it was a very good interview. I was very impressed with Ken. And I think that Dr. Heavenly did a wonderful job because she wasn't so grimy, for lack of a better term, in this interview. She asked questions as an interviewer, like an interviewer, and she was more appealing to me in this interview, and I appreciated that. I did not watch the one with LaTricia and Dr. Heavenly and Carlos, but I did watch this one because I actually wanted to hear what Ken had to say. So we do know that Ken was born in Dayton, Ohio, and he moved to Alabama at 9 years old. And he met Trisha online, and then they started working out in the gym, and they finally met face to face in about 2021 or 2022. The bottom line is they didn't know each other beforehand, is what I'm getting from this. And let's not forget, all comments are alleged and, in my opinion, with some actual and factual and so forth and so on. So, Ken says there's no hidden relationship between LaTricia and Martell, which I firmly believe him on that, because you're spending so much time with your mate, your spouse, or whosoever that you're in a relationship with. There's not enough time. And I get what Dr. Heavenly says is that sometimes you don't know when, but you do. You know by movements and machinations and how they handle you and treat you after stepping out to the other side of the septic tank. That's just my opinion. But Ken to me appears to be secure, and that's what I like. Ken also stated that Ken stated that LaTricia told him about Martell before they went on the show. However, she did not tell him that she went to Martell's home. I am listening to quite a few content creators saying that LaTricia's a whore. How would you be labeled based on your opinions or the way you do things and so forth and so on? That's all I want to know. I'm just questioning that. I'm still mad at her for not telling Ken that she did go to Martell's house, but the pretending she didn't know, that's like, if you go to somebody's house, you're going to know. I'm sorry. Because first thing I'm looking for is food. If I'm going to somebody's house, what did they feed me? That is what I'm looking for. I don't give a flipping dip if I'm a workout queen, king, or what have you, or if I'm a 350-pound woman or man, or if I'm a little bony 98-pound woman or man, or in between all of that. If I go to your house, I want to know what I ate, what I'm going to eat. That's my focus. What's for dinner? And everybody remembers what they ate at someone's house, whether it's good, bad, or, yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about. So anyway, Heavenly wants to know how does Ken know she doesn't cheat? And Ken basically said, because we're always together, so forth and so on. So I feel where Ken's coming from. I'm married to Michael. Michael and I have been married over 20 years. Michael and I are always together. But when he does go out, how do I know he's not cheating? Well, part of the reason is because my husband usually calls me when he gets to his destination and when he's at his destination. And a lot of the times he's at the supermarket, okay? When he's at work, he's going to call me. Before he goes to work, he's going to call me. And while he's at work, I know where he works because I work at the same place one day a week, Thursday nights. Thursday during the days. I serve the Rotary Club at the American Legion. It's just you have to be secure enough in your relationship to know if you have to figure out where your spouse or your mate, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, husband, wife, whosoever, if they're out of your company for about 10 minutes and you have to think about the fact that they're going to cheat, then you don't need to be in that relationship. I appreciate you for asking the question, Dr. Heavenly, but I think that Ken answered it. Okay? That's all I got to say. Okay. Ken said he's aware that Trisha has a horrible attitude. Possibly because LaTricia doesn't like to discuss a lot of things. And like he said, when he does discuss things with her or ask her questions, it becomes an accusation in her mind. And I understand how that can happen because I find myself sometimes having to watch the way I speak to my son. Not my husband, but my son. Because I say, baby, why did you drink my ginger ale? And he said, well, Mom, I never touched your ginger ale. Michael said he didn't have it. It's only 3 of us in the household. So where the fuck did the ginger ale go? So now we got to put timelines on it. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, oh, that was in there 2 weeks. Yeah, Mom, I drank that. You know what I'm saying? So he will admit the truth after there's some calming down of the situation and say, I'm not saying you stole it. I was just asking. He said, well, it sounds like you're accusatory. And he's probably right because it was my approach and the way I asked him the question. Are you accusing me of taking your ginger ale? No, baby. I just know I had a ginger ale in there that I bought 3 weeks ago. And then I bought another one in there 2 weeks ago. And I didn't drink either one. Oh, the one you bought in 3 weeks ago, that one been gone. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a matter of asking the proper questions, so forth and so on. I'm not saying that everybody has that ability to decipher when their spouse or their the significant other is telling the truth or not. But there's specific questions that need to be asked, so forth and so on. That's all I'm saying. Ken is secure as far as I'm concerned. He is very secure. Just like my husband is secure. Oh, absolutely. I look at other men. He looks at other women. Oh, especially those girls on wrestling. Okay? There's a couple of them I like. I be looking at the tits and I be looking at the butt and so forth and so on. So, because I can appreciate a good-looking human being, whether it be a man, woman, cat, or dog. Okay? And I know cats and dogs are not humans, but you know what I'm saying. I can appreciate that. But the one thing I'm not going to do is disrespect my spouse. Okay? LaTricia not telling Ken that she went to Martell's home made it seem like she was keeping information from him. And then people started calling him simp and other names and so forth and so on. Ken knows that that's not him. That's not who his being is. So he didn't feed into that negativity. However, it seems like LaTricia feeds into that negativity because she's so worried about what the streets are saying and not listening to the man that she has at home who holds her in his arms every night. And so that's the insecurity she needs to work on. That has nothing to do with Ken. That has nothing to do with him cheating or LaTricia cheating. Because I've heard people say, she's a whore, she's a this, she's a that. I think I was one of the few people that said, you tricked me because you went to Martell's house. But if there was no sex involved, okay. It's not okay. Let's be real clear. It's definitely not okay because the timelines are kind of askew with the time Martell was married to Melody, so forth and so on. But the fact of the matter is that she didn't sleep with him. What is the freaking problem, okay? You might not like how it's laid out for you because a lot of things are not going to be presented to you correctly. But you need to learn how to decipher, well, is she a whore? Is she not a whore? That's the bottom line. And I think that social media plays a big part in how people react to other people's lives and personal situations. And then they put out their feelings and what they think happened based on what happened to them. Well, that's never happened to me. Okay, bottom line. I went over man's house. I know I went over his house, so forth and so on. I'm not going to say I don't know why or I don't remember going over his house or any of that. I don't think I've withheld a lot of information. I'm not going to say I don't think. I haven't held any information from my son because let's be real clear. Mrs. Lois Brundage Vance, who used to be formerly Lois X Brundage Cummings, who was formerly Lois X Brundage, who was formerly baby girl Brundage, Amanda Brundage's firstborn baby girl. Back in the day, I was a player from the Himalayas, but every man that I went out with and I hung out with or I spent time with, I was not sleeping with, because there was a level of respect that my grandmother expected me to display when I went out in the streets. And I think that's why the men that I associated with respected me at that time and still to this day respect me, because I wasn't just out there. I can party with you. I can hang with you, so forth and so on. We're not a couple, and I'm not in a relationship at this time, so we can hang out. And then when I did get in a relationship, then we hung out with my fella at that time. So right now, today, my first boyfriend and my husband are really close friends. We grew up together on 119th Avenue and Suffolk Boulevard in Jamaica, Queens. You know, that was my first. And I expected him to be my Ken. But there became a situation in our lives where, and this is the stupidest thing you might ever want to hear. I went away to camp at 13 up in the Catskill Mountains. I met another guy and I was writing him letters and telling him everything that was going on. He still accepted me as his girlfriend when I came back. But at that point is when he started to see other women behind my back. That shit hurt me to my heart. But he always had love in his heart for me. He always considered me his first. He would do whatever he could for me. But he never made a commitment to me and never agreed to protect me from anything that happened after that in any other relationship that I got into. And I know y'all probably don't want to hear this, but because Ken is saying that LaTricia has baggage and he's willing to take that on, that's why I respect him. Because my first was not willing to accept the baggage, although we lived right next door to each other. And although we claimed our love for one another, he just was not willing to accept certain things once he found out that I kissed another man at camp at 13, went to the movies with him, shared commissary with him, went out camping in the woods, because we was already in the woods, it's Catskill Mountains, but we had cabins and so forth. So the boys had to come from the other side to the girls' side, and then we had campfires and all that other stuff. And I'm writing him letters, telling him everything that I'm doing, because that's the type of person I am. Well, in his mind, he was saying, okay, she playing me. And he might not have been saying that exactly, but I think in his mind, he was saying, well, I'll show her. We remain the best of friends. We have always been the best of friends, but there's no way we can go back to that relationship because I violated his trust from the beginning. And then later on, he violated my trust by continuously seeing other women, although we were talking about possibly getting back together. Could be marriage, whosoever, whatsoever it is. But we never got to that point because we always was moving in a different direction, although we were still there for one another. I get what Ken's saying. It's like he knows his woman because the man knows his woman. And the fact that my first boyfriend knew that I broke his heart, but he couldn't tell me that I broke his heart, I didn't see it. We didn't have that communications. I didn't see that I broke his heart. All I thought was I was being honest because that's the way my grandmother raised me and the way my grandma taught me, because my grandfather cheated on my grandmother. But I never saw it the way he saw it. As I grew older and I became more mature and got in relationships where I was literally cheated on, that's when the heartbreak began. Okay? And there were relationships that I cheated on. I wasn't married at the time, so let's be clear it up, but that doesn't make it right. If you want to relate or in a relationship and seeking marriage, there should be no one in a relationship looking outside of that relationship for anything else. And if you are, you don't need to be in that relationship. And that's where I think Ken stands. Ken is saying, I'm all in. She has a horrible attitude based on what happened to her in the past. And I'm trying to communicate with her based on the fact that in my last relationship, I did not know or understand how to communicate with my lady. I'm going to make it my point to make communication a priority. And LaTricia's not used to that because the man that she was with, that she had been with for years, up and left her. He moved, down the street or around the corner or something, and then he moved to a total other state. Now he comes back and he wants her to pay for half of the divorce. Then he decides that he wants to work it out. What is there to work out, dude? You've had 6 years to get your shit together, and you haven't got your shit together as of today. So I'm inclined to believe that LaTricia does, like they said, she is not healed, or she may not be healed, but she's working on her healing. And I don't think that we should take everything she does or says as she's a whore. It's just that simple. Because this man is telling us that is not her behavior. Ken is telling us that is not her behavior. That is not how she lives her life. She doesn't do these things, but she does react to certain things certain ways. I love the interview. I loved how open Ken was. I agreed with him. I'm sorry, a lot of people may not agree with it about Martell, because let's be real clear, until Melody Shari decided to cut Martell off at the balls, okay, Martell was giving it 100%. Okay, he was cheating. He was doing all those nasty things on the outside. But once Melody discovered it, that is what destroyed their marriage. The fact that he couldn't let it go. The fact that she's talking to him. She's asking him questions. And she's being involved. Being so involved that she's talking to this woman and so forth and so on. And this man still could not let that woman go. I think at some point Melody said, okay, I'm out. And at that point, Martell realized that his whole entire structure that held him together fell apart. So he reacted like a petulant little child. And he decided he was going on a revenge tour against Melody Shari, although he was the one that messed it up because his mama, nor his daddy, or his brother, or his friends held him accountable for his behavior. I think Ken is attempting to hold LaTricia accountable for her behavior. And then the fact that LaTricia mentioned that her children even said that she is a better person when she's with this man. I feel like this is who she needs to be with. I'm sorry. If you guys don't like her, that's okay. But calling her whores and names that are not biblical or have absolutely nothing to do with what actually happened is just clicks and views at this point. So I don't want to be one of those clickers and viewers or people that say, yeah, I'm going to jump on a bandwagon, because I think I did that one time. And originally when I started my channel, I said I was not going to jump on a bandwagon. But at that moment, I jumped on the bandwagon based on the fact that LaTricia said she went to Martell's house. So I'm like, oh, you lied to me, you so forth. I can't trust you. But I never called out her name. And the bottom line is I'm going to trust and believe that Ken got this on lock, and believe that if he feels that this woman is not meant for him, he knows how to walk. And that's it. That's all I got to say about this. Low riders, I'd love for you guys to get in the comments and tell me what you think about this. I had a lot of notes, but I didn't read all my notes. And the reason I didn't read all my notes, because I think I made my point. The fact of the matter is calling LaTricia a whore is not going to make Ken leave her unless there's something that she does to him specifically that lets him know he needs to be out. When he found out about Martell, he left the home. He didn't stay there and argue with a possibility he may have laid hands or any of those things. he walked away from not a detrimental, but a volatile situation where he could have possibly got ugly, or it could have got ugly. So I respect him for that. So part of a lot of what I'm saying is based on the fact that I have a man named Michael Darren Vance, that is my husband's name, who, when I first met him, I told him I was evil. I told him I was these things because that was the behaviors I used to display. But then I remembered those behaviors happened in my 20s and my early 30s. By the time I reached my 40s, those behaviors were not accurate about me. But because I had displayed those behaviors in the past based on being cheated on and being the cheater and so forth and so on, I had a certain attitude about these. And he asked me not to treat him like any man that I've ever been with in my life. And from that moment, I've been making a conscious decision every day to treat my husband differently. And we're talking over 20 years. That's really hard to do because you want to fall back. It's not that you want to fall back, but sometimes you fall back on the negatives that happened in your past. But look who you have in your life now. Look at the man that is opening doors and doing all the things that you've always wished a man to do, including your first love. And he never did that. And now the guy that used to be your first love and your final love are good friends. You know what I'm saying? So how weird is life sometimes? Sometimes we have to let go of the ones we love to find the ones we love and the ones we're going to love and be in love with and so forth forever. And I think that Ken has made a decision that he loves LaTricia unconditionally, and anybody else that's questioning that is just possibly miserable or is just looking for content, because we had never talked to Ken up until this point. And I thought that was a great interview. We talked to LaTricia severally with Stormy and Destiny and Destiny and Stormy and Martell and Stormy and whatever. But we never actually heard Ken speak because Ken is analyzing all of this. And the bottom line is he has chosen not to allow reality TV or the wagging tongues or any of the other people that have decided what type of woman LaTricia is to deter him from his journey and his commitment to this woman and her children. And for that, I can respect. And Ken, yo, bruh, I got you on this. But, and I say but, a big but, if it was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. If this woman gives you any inclination that she can't deal with you and how you are handling all the turbulence in your relationship, take a walk and take a walk forever. Okay, because there's no need to keep going back into the same situation. If you guys are working on healing and bonding and motivational speaking and so forth and so on, that's what your journey should be, and not listening to the comments and all the other noise that's coming in your ears, yapping at you. Let it go. Work on you guys and just fuck the white noise. That's it, low riders. Get down in the comments. Tell me what you have to think about this video and what you think I have to say about Ken and LaTricia. And please help me to get to 30,000 subscribers. I'm now at a little over 2,500 subscribers. My next goal is 3,000. So I would appreciate each and every one of you telling your mama, your daddy, your auntie, your uncle, your grandma, your grandpa, your sister, your brother, and your babies and your babies' friends and your workmates or whosoever, enemies, friends, foes, however. Just tell them to check out my channel, because I'm not like you think I am coming out the gate. And that's all I got to say. So check me out, reality_insights_ on the YouTubery streets. And let me just say, I love each and every one of you for rocking with me and following me. Wakanda forever. Yay, baby. Mwah. Peace.